August 15th, 2025, Diamond Sutra. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. The Dharma, infinitely profound and subtle, is early encountered even in a million kalpas. Now we are able to hear, study, and follow it, may be fully realized the Tathagata's true meaning. Thus have I heard, once the Buddha was staying on Ampantika's park in Jeta Grove in Shavasti with a community of 1,250 bhikshus. When it was mealtime, the world honored one put on his robe, took his bowl, went into the great city of Shavasti, going from house to house to beg for food. This done, he returned to his abiding place, finished the meal, put away his robe and bowl, washed his feet, arranged his seat, and sat down. Then the elder Subhuti, one of the most senior in the assembly, arose from his seat, bared his right shoulder, knelt on his right knee with his palms joined, and respectfully addressed the Buddha. How remarkable, world honored one, that the Tathagata is ever mindful of Bodhisattvas, protecting and instructing well. World honored one, when good men and good women resolve to attain Anuttara Samyaksa Bodhi, how should they abide and how should they subdue their minds? The Buddha said, excellent, Buddha. It is, as you've said, the Tathagata is ever mindful of Bodhisattvas, protecting and instructing well. Now listen attentively, and I will explain it for you. Good men and good women who resolve to attain Anuttara Samyaksa Bodhi should thus abide and subdue their minds. Yes, world honored, we're listening with great anticipation. The Buddha said to Subhuti, the Bodhisattvas and Bodhisattvas should thus subdue their minds. All the different types of sentient beings, whether they're born from eggs, from wombs, by moisture or transformation, whether they have form or no form, whether they have thoughts or no thoughts, whether they have neither thought nor not thought, I will liberate them by leading them to nirvana without residue. When immeasurable, infinite, countless sentient beings have been liberated, ultimately no sentient beings have been liberated. Why? Subhuti, if bodhisattvas have any notions of a self, a person, sentient being, or lifespan, they're not bodhisattvas. Furthermore, Subhuti, in the practice of charity, bodhisattvas should abide in nothing whatsoever. That is, to practice charity without abiding in form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or dharma. Subhuti, the bodhisattvas should practice charity this way, abiding in nothing. Why? Bodhisattvas practice charity without attachment. Their merits are measurable. Subhuti, what do you think? Is the space in the eastern direction measurable? No, world honored. Subhuti, is any of the space in the southern, western, or northern directions, the four intermediate directions above or below measurable? No, world honored. Subhuti, the merits obtained by the bodhisattvas of practice charity without attachment are also measurable such. Subhuti, the bodhisattvas just abide by what is just taught. Subhuti, what do you think? Can the Tathagata be recognized by means of physical appearance? No, world honored. The Tathagata cannot be recognized by means of his physical appearance. Why? The Tathagata teaches physical appearance, actually not physical appearances. The Buddha said to Subhuti, all appearances are illusory. To see that appearance is not appearances, is to see the Tathagata. Subhuti addressed the Buddha, world honored one. Will there be any sentient beings who give rise to true faith upon hearing this teaching? The Buddha said to Subhuti, do not even say such a thing. After my passing the last 500 years, there will be those observing the precepts and cultivating merits who have the faith that these are words of truth. You should know that these people have not merely cultivated virtues with one Buddha, two Buddhas, three, four, or five Buddhas. They've cultivated all kinds of virtues with hundreds of thousands, even countless numbers of Buddhas. Upon hearing these passages, some will in an instant give rise to pure faith. Subhuti, the Tathagata knows and sees these beings perfectly as they obtain such countless merits. Why? It's because these sentient beings are free from the notions of self, a person, sentient being, or lifespan. They're also free from the notions of dharmas and non-dharmas. Why? The minds of these sentient beings have attachments. They're clinging to the notions of self, a person, sentient being, or lifespan. They have the attachment of dharmas. They're clinging to the notions of self, a person, sentient being, or lifespan. Why? They have the attachment of non-dharmas. They're clinging to the notions of self, a person, sentient being, or lifespan. Therefore, one should not cling to dharmas or non-dharmas. For this reason, the Tathagata often teaches, bhikshus, know that my dharma is like a raft. If even the dharma should be abandoned, how much more so the non-dharma? Subhuti, what do you think? Has the Tathagata attained Anuttara Samyaksa Bodhi? Does he teach the Dharma? Subhuti said, as I understand the meaning of what the Buddha said, there's no fixed Dharma called Anuttara Samyaksa Bodhi, and there's also no fixed Dharma that the Tathagata can teach. Why? The Dharma taught by the Tathagata cannot be grasped or explained. It's neither Dharma nor non-Dharma. How is it so? It's because all the saints and sages are distinguished by the unconditioned Dharma. Subhuti, what do you think? If a person filled a trachylogos with 7 jewels and given away in charity, wouldn't the merits obtained by this person be great? Subhuti said, extremely great, world honored. Why? Even though the merit attained is not the nature of merit, the Tathagata says the merits obtained are great. But if a person studies and follows even a mere 4-line verse of the sutra and teaches to others, this person's merits exceed the former's. Why? Subhuti, all the Buddhas in the realization of Anuttara Samyaksa Bodhi originate from this sutra. Subhuti, that which is called the Buddha Dharma is not the Buddha Dharma, therefore it's called the Buddha Dharma. Subhuti, what do you think? Does the Strodapana have thought of attaining the realization of the Strodapana? Subhuti said, no, world honored. Why? Strodapana means stream enter, but there's nothing to enter. Therefore, one who does not enter in this form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or dharma is called Strodapana. Subhuti, what do you think? Does the Sakratagamin have thought of attaining the realization of Sakratagamin? Subhuti said, no, world honored. Why? Sakratagamin means to go and come one more time, but there's in reality no going and no coming. Therefore, one's called a Sakratagamin. Subhuti, what do you think? Does an Anagamin have thought of attaining the realization of the Anagamin? Subhuti said, no, world under one. Why? Anagaman means non-returning. There's in fact no such thing as non-returning, therefore one is called an anagaman. So what do you think? Does an arhat have thought of attaining the realization of the arhat? So we said no, world honored one. Why? There's in reality no such thing as an arhat. World honored one. If an arhat gives rise to the thought of attaining the arhathood, this means they're attached to the notion of self, person, ending, being, or lifespan. World honored one, you have said, of all people, I am foremost in attaining the samadhi of non-contention, the foremost arhat being free from desires. World honored one, I do not have the thought I'm an arhat who is free from desires. World honored one. If I'd given rise to the thought I've attained the arhathood, you would not have said. Subhuti practices aryana, abiding peacefully in non-contention. In reality, Subhuti abides in nothing at all. Therefore, Subhuti is called the one who abides peacefully in non-contention. The Buddha said to Subhuti, what do you think? When the Tathagata studied under Daipankara Buddha, did he receive any dharma? No, world honored one. When the Tathagata studied under Daipankara Buddha, he did not receive any dharma. Subhuti, what do you think? Does a Bodhisattva adorn a world, making it a Buddha world? No, world honored one. To adorn the world into a Buddha world is not to adorn, therefore it's called to adorn. So, Subhuti, Bodhisattvas and Mahasattvas should give rise to a pure mind that does not abide in four times smell, taste, touch, and aroma. They should abide in nothing to give rise to the mind. Subhuti, if there were a person with a body the size of Mount Sumatra, what do you think? Would this body be huge? Subhuti said, extremely huge, world honored one. Why? The Buddha teaches that it's not a body, therefore it's called a huge body. Subhuti, what do you think? If there was many Ganges rivers, there's grains of sand in the Ganges, wouldn't the amount of sand contained in all these Ganges rivers be great? Subhuti said, extremely great, world honored. If even the Ganges river is innumerable, how much more so the grains of sand? Subhuti, let me tell you the truth. If a good man or good woman fills as many trikilocosms as are grains of sand in all those Ganges with their 7 jewels and gives them away in charity, would these merits be great? Subhuti said, extremely great, world honored. The Buddha said to Subhuti, if a good man or good woman is able to study and follow even the mere 4-line verse of the sutra and teach it to others, their merits are far greater than the former's. Furthermore, Subhuti, wherever one teaches or recites even a mere 4-line verse of the sutra, that place should be venerated as a Buddha stupa by heavenly beings, human beings, and serfs in this world. How much more than so is the case where one can completely read, recite, study, and follow the sutra? Subhuti, you should know such a person has achieved the highest, rarest of accomplishments. Wherever the sutra is present, the Buddha or his revered disciples are also present. Then Subhuti addressed the Buddha, world honored one, what shall we call the sutra and how shall we behold it? The Buddha said to Subhuti, this sutra is called Diamond Prajnaparamita. In accord with this title, you should behold the sutra. How is it so? Subhuti, the Buddha teaches the Prajnaparamita is not Prajnaparamita, therefore it's called Prajnaparamita. Subhuti, what do you think? Does the Tathagata have any dharma to teach? Subhuti said to the Buddha, world honored one, the Tathagata has nothing to teach. Subhuti, what do you think? Are all the tiny particles contained in this trikilocosm great number? Subhuti said, extremely great, world honored one. Subhuti, the Tathagata teaches tiny particles are not tiny particles, therefore they're called tiny particles. The Tathagata teaches the worlds are not worlds, therefore they're called worlds. Subhuti, what do you think? Can the Tathagata be recognized by means of its 32 good marks? No, world honored one, the Tathagata cannot be recognized by means of its 32 good marks. Why? The Tathagata teaches that the 32 good marks are not good marks, therefore they're called the 32 good marks. Subhuti, if a good man or good woman gives away their body and life as many times as there are grains of sand in the Ganges in charity, and if another studies and follows even a 4-line verse of this sutra and teaches it to others, the latter's merits far exceed the former's. Upon hearing the sutra, Subhuti was moved to tears, having deeply understood its meaning and significance. He said to the Buddha, how remarkable, world honored one, you have taught us such a profound sutra. Even though I've long attained wisdom, I have never heard such a teaching before. World honored one, if someone who hears this sutra gives rise to pure faith and thus perceives the true nature of reality, we should know that this person achieved the most extraordinary merit. World honored one, the true nature of reality is not the true nature of reality, therefore it is what the Tathagata calls the true nature of reality. World honored one, having just heard this sutra, I have no difficulty in believing, comprehending, studying, and following it. But in the ages to come, in the last 500 years, if there are sentient beings who hear this sutra and believe, comprehend, study, and follow it, they will be the most foremost remarkable beings. Why? These beings do not have any notions of a self, a person, sentient being, or lifespan. How is it so? A self is not a self. The appearances of a person, sentient being, or lifespan are likewise not their appearances. Why? Those who relinquish all appearances and notions are called Buddhas. The Buddha said to Subhuti, so it is, you should know. If someone hears this sutra is neither shocked, frightened, or disturbed, this person is extremely remarkable. Why? Subhuti, the Tathagata says the foremost paramita is not the foremost paramita, therefore it's called the foremost paramita. Subhuti, the Tathagata teaches tolerance paramita is not tolerance paramita, therefore it's called tolerance paramita. Why? Subhuti, in a former lifetime, my body was mutilated by King Kalinga. At that time, I had no notions of self, person, sentient being, or lifespan. Why? If I had any notions of self, person, sentient being, or lifespan, as my body's being dismembered limb after limb, I would have given rise to feelings of resentment and hatred. Subhuti, I also recall for 500 lifetimes there was a rishi of tolerance. At that time, I was also free from the notions of self, person, sentient being, or lifespan. Therefore, Subhuti, Bodhisattvas should relinquish all appearances and notions in their resolve to attain Anyatara Samaksam Bodhi. They should not abide in form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or dharmas that give rise to mind. They should give rise to a mind without abiding in anything. Any abidance in the mind is attachment. Therefore, the Buddha says, but Bodhisattva should practice charity with a mind not abiding in any form. So, Buddha, to benefit all sentient beings, Bodhisattva should practice charity in this way. The Tathagata teaches that all appearances and notions are not appearances and notions, and that all sentient beings are not sentient beings. So, Buddha, what the Tathagata speaks is true, real, and as it is. His words are neither deceptive nor contradictory. So, Buddha, the truth that the Tathagata has attained is neither real nor unreal. So, Buddha, if a Bodhisattva practices charity with the mind abiding in something, they're like people entering darkness and thus not seeing anything. If a Bodhisattva practices charity without abiding in anything, they're like people with eyes wide open, seeing all things clearly under the bright sunlight. So, Buddha, if in a future time there are good men or good women who regularly read, recite, study, and follow the sutra, the Tathagata with the Buddha wisdom will clearly perceive and recognize each one of them as all achieve immeasurable and infinite merit. So, Buddha, if a good man or good woman offers their body in charity as many times as are grains of sand in the Ganges in the morning, and then does likewise at noon in the evening, continuing thus for immeasurable hundreds, thousands, millions, kalpas, and if someone else hears the sutra and gives rise to unwavering faith, the latter's merits far exceed the former's. How much more the merits of those who transcribe, read, recite, study, follow, and explain to others the sutra? In short, Subhuti, this sutra carries inconceivable, immeasurable, limitless merit, and the Tathagata teaches to benefit aspirants of great vehicle as well as aspirants of the supreme vehicle. The Tathagata knows and sees those who are able to read, recite, study, and follow widely teach to others the sutra as they achieve innumerable, immeasurable, limitless, inconceivable merit. They indeed carry on the work of the Tathagata in bringing beings to Anyatara Samyaksambodhi. Why? Subhuti, those who are content with inferior teachings have the notions of self, a person, sending, being, or lifespan. Such people are not able to hear, read, recite, study, and explain to others the sutra. Subhuti, wherever the sutra is present, all heavenly beings, human beings, and asuras in all the world should come and make offerings. Wherever the sutra is present, that place is a stupa. All should respectfully circumambulate it, scattering fragrant flowers all around it. Furthermore, Subhuti, suppose there are good men or good women who regularly read, recite, study, follow the sutra, but are belittled by others. This is because of their previous bad karma, which would have otherwise caused them to be reborn in the wretched destinies. But now, by enduring the disparagement of others, this previous bad karma is eradicated, and they will eventually attain Anyatara Samyaksambodhi. Subhuti, I remember the countless kalpas ago, before the time of Diamond Buddha, I encountered equal millions of billions of Nayutas, and made offerings to and served all of them without fail. However, someone in the Dharma ending age can read, recite, study, and follow the sutra. This person's merits will be 100 times, even 100 trillion times greater than mine when I made offerings to all these Buddhas. In fact, no such comparison is by calculation or knowledge is possible. Subhuti, if I fully reveal the merits obtained by good men and good women who read, recite, study, and follow the sutra during the Dharma ending age, some people, upon hearing it, might become hysterical and skeptical and dismiss it. Subhuti, you should know the underlying meaning of the sutra is inconceivable, and the rewards are also inconceivable. Then, Subhuti addressed the Buddha world honor one. If good men and good women resolve to attain Anyatara Samyaksambodhi, how should they abide and how should they subdue their minds? The Buddha said, Subhuti, good men and good women who resolve to attain Anyatara Samyaksambodhi should bear this in mind. I will liberate all sentient beings by bringing them to nirvana. Yet when all sentient beings have been liberated, not a single sentient being has actually attained nirvana. Why? Subhuti, if a bodhisattvas have the notions of self, person, sentient being, or lifespan, they're not bodhisattvas. How is this so? Subhuti, there's actually no resolve for the attainment of Anyatara Samyaksambodhi. Subhuti, what do you think? When the Tathagata studied under Diamond Buddha, did he receive any dharma in order to attain Anyatara Samyaksambodhi? No, world honor. And as I understand the meaning of your teaching, when you studied under Diamond Buddha, there was nothing obtained for your attainment of Anyatara Samyaksambodhi. But the Buddha said, so it is. So it is, Subhuti. There is indeed nothing that Tathagata obtained to attain Anyatara Samyaksambodhi. Subhuti, if there was something obtained to attain Anyatara Samyaksambodhi, Diamond Buddha would not have foretold you will attain Buddhahood in the future with the name Shakyamuni. It's precisely because there is actually nothing obtained to attain Anyatara Samyaksambodhi that Diamond Buddha foretold you will attain Buddhahood in the future with the name Shakyamuni. Why? This is because Tathagata means all dharmas as they really are. If someone says that Tathagata attained Anyatara Samyaksambodhi, Subhuti, there's in fact nothing obtained in the Buddha's attainment of Anyatara Samyaksambodhi. Subhuti, the Anyatara Samyaksambodhi attained by the Tathagata is neither real nor unreal. The Tathagata teaches that all dharmas are the Buddha dharmas. Subhuti, the so-called all dharmas are not dharmas at all. Therefore, they're called all dharmas. Subhuti, consider the example of a person with the immense perfect body. Subhuti said, world honor, when the person with the immense perfect body has no such body. Therefore, it's called an immense perfect body. Subhuti, so it is with Bodhisattva. If someone says, I will bring countless sentient beings to nirvana, they're not bodhisattvas. Why? Subhuti, there's actually no such thing called a bodhisattva. Therefore, the Buddha says, all dharmas are free from the notions of self, person, sentient being, or lifespan. Subhuti, if a bodhisattva says, I will adorn the world, making it a Buddha world, they're not bodhisattvas. Why? The Tathagata teaches that to adorn the world into a Buddha world is not to adorn, therefore it's called to adorn. Subhuti, if a bodhisattva realizes the dharma of non-self, the Tathagata says, this is really a Bodhisattva. So Buddha said, what do you think? Does the Tathagata have the physical eye? Yes, well done. The Tathagata has the physical eye. So Buddha, what do you think? Does the Tathagata have the Deva eye? Yes, well done. Well, the Tathagata has the Deva eye. So Buddha, what do you think? Does the Tathagata have the wisdom eye? Yes, well done. And the Tathagata has the wisdom eye. So Buddha, what do you think? Does the Tathagata have the Dharma eye? Yes, well done. And the Tathagata has the Dharma eye. So Buddha, what do you think? Does the Tathagata have the Buddha eye? Yes, well done. Well, the Tathagata has the Buddha eye. So Buddha, what do you think? Does the Buddha regard all the sand in the Ganges as sand? Yes, well done. Well, the Tathagata calls it sand. So Buddha, what do you think? If there were as many Ganges rivers as there are grains of sand in the Ganges, and there were a Buddha world for each grain of sand in all these rivers, would the number of these Buddha worlds be great? Great indeed, world honor. What the Buddha said is the Buddha, with respect to each and every sentient being dwelling in all these Buddha worlds, the Tathagata is perfectly aware of their minds. Why? The Tathagata teaches that minds are not minds, therefore they're called minds. How is it so? The mind of the past is ungraspable, the mind of the present is ungraspable, the mind of the future is ungraspable. So Buddha, what do you think? If a person would fill a trichilocosm with 7 jewels and give them away in charity, with such a deed, would the merits obtained by this person be great? Yes, world honor. Well, this person would obtain extremely great merit from such a deed. So Buddha, if these merits were real, the Tathagata would not say the merits obtained are great. It is only because the merits are not substantial that the Tathagata says the merits obtained are great. So Buddha, what do you think? Can the Buddha be recognized by means of his perfect physical body? No, world honor. The Tathagata cannot be recognized by means of perfect physical body. Why? The Tathagata teaches that a perfect physical body is not a perfect physical body, therefore it's called a perfect physical body. So Buddha, what do you think? Can the Tathagata be recognized by means of perfect attributes? No, world honor. The Tathagata cannot be recognized by means of perfect attributes. Why? The Tathagata teaches perfect attributes are not perfect attributes, therefore they're called perfect attributes. So Buddha, do not think that the Tathagata hasn't thought out something to teach. Do not think this way. Why? Whoever says that the Tathagata teaches the Dharma slanders the Buddha because they do not understand my teaching. Subhuti, to teach the Dharma is that there's no Dharma to teach. Therefore, it's called to teach the Dharma. Then the wise Venerable Subhuti said to the Buddha, World Honor One, will there be sentient beings in the future who will generate faith upon hearing these teachings? The Buddha said, Subhuti, there are neither sentient beings nor non-sentient beings. Subhuti, why? Subhuti, the Tathagata teaches sentient beings who go through many births are not sentient beings. Therefore, they're called sentient beings. Subhuti said to the Buddha, World Honor One, when the Buddha attained Anuttara Samyak, was nothing actually attained? The Buddha said, so it is, Subhuti. As to Anuttara Samyak, I've not attained the slightest thing. That's why it's called Anuttara Samyak. Furthermore, Subhuti, all dharmas are equal. None is superior or inferior. This is called Anuttara Samyak. By cultivating all good without the notions of self, personality, being, or lifespan, one attains Anuttara Samyak. Subhuti, the Tathagata teaches that good is not good, therefore it is good. Subhuti, if a person accumulates mounts of 7 jewels, equivalent size to all Mount Sumers in the world of Trichilocosm, and gives away in charity, and if another person reads, recites, studies, follows, and teaches his Prajnaparamita Sutra, even a mere 4-line verse to others, the former's merits will be less than 100th, even a billionth of the latter's. In fact, the latter's merits are so great that no comparison by calculation analogy is possible. Subhuti, what do you think? You should not claim that the Tathagata has the thought I will liberate sentient beings. Subhuti, do not think this way. Why? There are in fact no sentient beings that the Tathagata liberates. If there were sentient beings liberated by the Tathagata, it would mean that the Tathagata has the notions of a self-person, being, or lifespan. Subhuti, when the Tathagata says I, there's actually no I. However, ordinary beings do think that there's a real I. Subhuti, the Tathagata teaches that ordinary beings are not ordinary beings, therefore they're called ordinary beings. Subhuti, what do you think? Can one recognize the Tathagata by means of 32 good marks? Subhuti said, yes, one can recognize the Tathagata by means of 32 good marks. The Buddha said, Subhuti, if one recognizes the Tathagata by means of 32 good marks, a wheel-turning sage king would be a Tathagata. Subhuti said to the Buddha, World Onwards, I understand the meaning of what you've said, that one should not recognize the Tathagata by means of 32 good marks. Then the World Onwards spoke this verse, those who see me in form or seek me through sound are on a mistaken path, they do not see the Tathagata. Subhuti, if you think that the Tathagata attains Anuttara Samyak without the perfection of all attributes, Subhuti, do not think this way, that the Tathagata attains Anuttara Samyak without the perfection of all attributes. Subhuti, if you think this way, those who resolve to attain Anuttara Samyak would assert the annihilation of the dharmas. So do not think this way. Why? Those who resolve to attain Anuttara Samyak do not assert the annihilation of the dharmas. Subhuti, if a Bodhisattva were to fill all the worlds of as many as grains of sand in the Ganges with the 7 jewels, and give them away in charity, and another Bodhisattva were to attain the forbearance of the selfless nature of all dharmas, the merits of this Bodhisattva would exceed the former's. Why? Subhuti, this is because the Bodhisattvas do not accumulate merits. Subhuti said to the Buddha, World Honor, why is it the Bodhisattvas do not accumulate merits? Subhuti said, Bodhisattvas do not cling to the merits they generate, therefore I say they do not accumulate merits. So Buddhi, whoever says that the Tathagata comes, goes, sits, or lies down does not understand the meaning of my teaching. Why? The thus come when neither comes nor goes, therefore they're called the Tathagata. So Buddhi, what do you think? If a good man or good woman were to take all the worlds of Trichilocosm and crush them into tiny particles, would these particles be numerous? So Buddhi said, extremely numerous, world on one. Why? If these tiny particles had existence, real existence, the Buddha would not call them tiny particles. How is it so? The Buddha teaches that tiny particles are not tiny particles, therefore they're called tiny particles. We're aligned with that which the Tathagata calls the worlds of Trichilocosm are not actually worlds, therefore they're called worlds. Why? To the extent that these worlds really exist, they exist as one wholeness. The Tathagata teaches one wholeness is not one wholeness, therefore it's called one wholeness. Subhuti, one wholeness is actually ineffable, but ordinary beings do cling to such a notion. Subhuti, say someone claims that the Buddha teaches the views of a self, a person, sending mere lifespan. What do you think, Subhuti? Has this person understood the meaning of my teaching? No, world on one. This person's not understood the meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Why? The world on one teaches that the views of self, a person, sending being a lifespan are not the views of self, a person, sending being a lifespan. Therefore, they call the views of self, a person, sending being a lifespan. Subhuti, those who resolve to attain Anyatarsamraksam devotee should know, perceive, believe, and understand all dharmas just as they are without attaching any dharma attributes. Subhuti, the Tathagata teaches that dharma attributes are not dharma attributes, therefore they're called dharma attributes. Subhuti, if a person were filled with countless worlds with 7 jewels and given away in charity, and if a good man or good woman, having made the Bodhisattva resolve, studies, reads, recites, study, and expounds the Sutra, even a mere 4-line verse, the latter's merits far exceed the former's. How should one expound to others without attachment, abiding in stillness and suchness? Why? All conditioned dharmas like a dream, an illusion, a bubble, a shadow, like dew or flash of lightning, thus shall we perceive them. With this, the Buddha concluded the Sutra. The elder Subhuti, other bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, upasikas, heavenly and human beings, asuras, and other beings of the world, having heard the Buddha, were all filled with immense joy. They accepted and followed the teaching faithfully, ended the Diamond Prajna Paramita Sutra. Lipa lipa di chay chay di twalani di nihila di pilini di moha chedi zingle chandi sapoha lipa lipa di chay chay di twalani di nihila di pilini di moha chedi zingle chandi sapoha lipa lipa di chay chay di twalani di nihila di pilini di moha chedi zingle chandi sapoha. Extinguish doubts and generate faith, relinquish form and transcend principle, instantly renounce attachments to all beings and dharmas, to understand true emptiness, flavor, prajna, sublime, thoroughly understand the 4-line verse, its merits inexpressible. Namo Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the Diamond Sutra Assembly. Namo Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the Diamond Sutra Assembly. Namo Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the Diamond Sutra Assembly. May all beings of the 4 births and in the 9 realms ascend to the wondrous world of the lover's treasury. May those in the 8 woeful states and 3 wretched destinies flow into the sea of Arachana. I take refuge in the Buddha. May each and every sentient being understand the great way profoundly and bring forth the Buddha mind. I take refuge in the Dharma. May each and every sentient being deeply enter the Sutra treasury and have wisdom fast as the sea. I take refuge in the Sangha. May each and every sentient being form together a great assembly, one and all in harmony. What a wonderful blessing to recite this sutra. Let us dedicate the superb and limitless merits. May all floundering and struggling sentient beings soon reach the Buddha land of infinite light. Buddhas of the past, present, and future, and in the 10 directions, all Bodhisattva, Mahasattvas, Maha, Prajna, Paramita. May I remove the 3 obstructions and all afflictions. May I have the wisdom to perceive the truth. May all beings be free of transgression and suffering. I vow to practice the Bodhisattva way, life after life.